You also mentioned that there's almost a misconception that you need a lot of resources or revenues to build a learning organization. So in your experience with Northrop Grumman, what kinds of resources do you need to actually build a learning organization? How much of revenue was allocated to building a learning organization and to your training and development programs?
Yeah. Depending upon the time frame you're talking about, that answer is very different. So like all organizations, we morph, we evolve, we change, we grow, we adapt, we sell off units, we buy units. So the ability to pinpoint a dollar amount at any point in time is almost useless, right? And no one tracks that data. That's a burden on the organization. So having said that, one of the things that I was always asked to consider in my role was the burden that the things that I wanted to do was going to place on the organization. So sometimes it wasn't about the cash, the financial outlay. Certainly a company as big as Northrop could afford, something. But what strain did that put on you or the managers for which we're now going to have to use this new system, this new technology, this new process procedure? Did they have the capacity to do so? Not that they weren't interested, but where was the priority in this interest in terms of everything else that they had to accomplish? And then on the government contracting side, there is this liability, right? How do I account for my time? Because almost like a lawyer, I have to account for every 7 or 15 minutes, whatever the formula is. So if I'm not charging directly to the client, then what am I charging to? Then how do I justify that? So we always had to be cognizant of those types of issues, the charging issue, the capacity issue, the utilization issue, and then make adjustments for what that really looked like. So again, in some instances, you had the ability to charge for X, Y, and Z. In other instances, you did not. In some instances, one of my old bosses used to say, we got to get people to put some skin in the game, right? That they would just do things on their own. There was a vice president who used to talk to me about, well, can't we just build a culture of learning such that there is an expectation from the employee base that they will pursue their own opportunities to learn without any burden or cost to the organization? Some people were advocates for that, and some people were like, no, if it's a requirement of my job, then you need to provide the resources and the wherewithal in order to see that through. And those things coexisted. They were not either or propositions. Therefore, you had to accommodate both sides of that equation and do what you could to support them. I think at the end of the day, at the end of each day, keeping the guiding principles in mind, certainly the rules and regulations for which you have to maintain, you make very short-term decisions about supporting performance for the group that you're working with.